Hello and welcome to today's tutorial. My name is Joseph. So, today we'll be covering a updated version of the Simple Lighting Engine. So the goal of this is to basically give you guys the tools to generate a very simple, quick lighting engine for your games. I also just want to say thank you everyone that's interacting with the channel. You guys are all amazing. You are really driving the channel forward, and I have to really thank you guys again. So let's get into it. So, as you guys will see, I've got two sprites. Sprite 0, which is just a test sprite. Sprite Light, which is the lighting source. I've got a lighting engine, a light, and a test object. So if I go to my room here, you'll see I've got a test object, and this is the lighting engine. So that's all I've got in the room right now. So if I run the program, and this required some digging around in the GameMaker engine, you can see I get a nice black surface. And when I go over my test object, it reveals it. So basically what's happening here is I'm drawing a black shape and I'm using a function called blend in GameMaker that allows me to blend out or blend in the alpha value of a sprite. And what I mean by that is if I go to my sprite here, you'll see these squares actually indicate opaqueness or alpha. So there's an actual alpha gradient here I generated in a tool called paint.net, free tool, that I use quite often. So if I jump to the guts here of the program, let's actually take a look at what's going on. So the first import, oh, I didn't know you could do that. New discoveries in GameMaker. So the first thing I do is I have to make sure to set the depth correctly, because if the depth is not set, so if it's at 0, I think let me set that to 1. If I set that to 1, because that should push it below my other object there, you'll see that it now sits above it, which is not what we want. So as a good rule of thumb, we should always try to set our lighting engine at the lowest depth, or the highest depth, whichever one you want to call it. The next important step here is I generate a light source. Oh, sorry, a surface, a light surface, which is the room width and height. If you set this to any other values, you're going to basically draw a square that's smaller than your room. So it depends how you're trying to tackle your game and how much frame rate you're hitting, but I would recommend just doing it like this. The next is I create a database, effectively, of light objects. And the idea is I can use this later in the code to reference each of my light sources, making my life a little easier. So if I go to my draw function now, because you can see it's only got 2 bits in this, this is the guts of the program. This is what it's doing. So the first step is it sets a surface, which we created. Next it sets clears the color black and sets the alpha to 1. Then, and this is where the big difference is between the original GameMaker and the new one, it's GPU set. That took me about an hour to work out after fanning about and couldn't find it. And then I set to blend 0 and invert color. That's just the one I found. I strongly recommend playing with all the settings. Then I draw the sprite extra light on my cursor, just so we can test it. Then this is the dynamic loop, and I'll explain that in a moment. We then reset our blend back to normal, and then reset our target surface. So that's going to loop like so. And then the next part here is this is a fail safe. So the idea of this is this checks to see if the surface is drawn, this surface here. If it's not drawn, it draws it and runs through the cycle. Else, it then just references the surface and places it on screen. Make sense? Excellent. This is a little thing of my own creation. So again, we're using our lovely for loops, everyone's favorite. So in here, I reference a array, which is this lighting array. And the reason I like this, because I tend to operate off of universality when I create programs. In here, if I've got any lighting sources, with this in an array, I can reference the object in array, which means when I run the with function, with will run normally based on ID, but placing it into this array will actually operate across the board with all instances. Really quite useful once you realize that. So what this basically means is I can then draw And this is where it gets a bit funky, because with actually draws, from what I understand, internally, but not internally in the object. It's one of those fun ones. This sprite object. But the other cool thing we can do is if you've got values in here, you can actually reference it. So something I stuffed up, and this is one of the reasons I didn't get the video up yesterday, is I tried this, right? And I'm just showing you guys. But what this is really doing is it's trying to reference the array I've set, but it can't because it's within the object. So it's almost nesting it inside a nest. So I just have to do that. I don't actually need to try to reference the array, and that's why I was getting stuck yesterday when I was trying to program this. So the draw light function is super useful. So if I go back to my room here, and I'm still learning GameMaker, and I take some of my light sources, which don't have any sprites or anything, I put a couple of these down. Normally in GameMaker, we'd have to program each of these and return them. But using the with function, look at how useful this is. Look at that. So they draw their own lighting sources and they interact. So you can see they interact correctly. And basically, let's say I want to make them a little larger. So I can actually just take this code here that I've developed, and let's actually make the light sources a bit larger. Now, normally the more detailed your imaging, the better it's going to look. I've just quickly created some quick sprites, so this is just for the sake of this tutorial. Are you happy with that GameMaker? Yes, you are. Beautiful. So I've just increased their size by 2 times. Beautiful. So one of the cool things we can do, and if I cluster them a bit together, so if I'm making a lighting in a game, I can actually do this now quite quickly and dynamically. I can do that, and you can see the lights cluster together, and we can fill in the light. And then the other thing we'll just show you, I'll show you how to do, is let's say we want to add some color to the system as well. So this is where we can actually then run, and just as a note I should show you, there is nothing in this lighting source, it's just being used as a marker point. So that's all it's doing. So in this blend, I'm pretty sure if I try to draw a circle with color, this will most likely break. Most likely. I'm not saying guaranteed, I'm just saying most likely. Let's make it 100. Let's set the color to yellow. And normally I'd use a sprite for this as well. But this is just a bit of a extension for you guys to see what you can do. I'm actually really happy with this little blend function I created. It's really quite clean. Oh boy, that really broke it. So what we really have to do with this one, and I remember doing this in my former program when I had written it. So if I go to my light object here and I go draw, I need to take it away from the blend function. Well, actually I say that. We can do it another way. Let's be a bit sneaky. Let me take the dynamic function. Let's reset it here. So this is important because I'm going outside the blend function, which means now this in theory isn't getting blended. And you can do this because I gets reset at each stage. It only becomes a problem with loops like this if you're looping inside a loop, which we try to avoid because things get confusing. There we go, beautiful. So if I do that, you're going to say, but Joseph, it's a big yellow square now, circle now, I can't see what's going on. That's where we can go draw set. We want set alpha. Let's set the alpha to 0.5. And let's reset alpha back. So one of the things you have to do when using these draw functions, these draw sets, make sure to reset them, because otherwise it will trail on through the rest of your program. Look at that. And it's not perfect, but as an example, you can see here we've actually now got a bit of a yellow color through it. And we could start adding in like little random wobbles and stuff like that to it. So it's a nice, simple little explanation of how lighting engines work. I hope you guys found it useful. And again, I just want to really thank everyone that's interacting with the channel. You're making a massive difference to the flow statistics in the back end there, and I'm still blown away that I've got 151 people following me. So again, I just really want to thank you all, and I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you later.